Hey, it's Russell, and this week I want to talk about virtual presentations because right now, obviously with the quarantines going on and everyone social distancing, every presentation you're giving is probably virtual. And virtual, I mean, let's face it, virtual is the new norm. And that's how we're going to be communicating, at least for a while. And so I wanted to give you some tips on virtual. By the way, I'm going to give you 3 tips today, but if there are other things that you struggle with from a virtual presentation perspective, you can go to theroco.com and leave a comment there or contact us and just leave a message. Let me know what you're struggling with so I can make these as relevant as possible for you guys. All right, so the first tip for virtual presentations, don't stress out so much. It's a presentation. The word virtual tends to make people really think, oh my gosh, this is so different from my face-to-face presentations. And many of you are really good face-to-face. Whether you're working on things or not, you feel very comfortable in a room with people there. You can, you know some of the techniques to make sure that it's compelling and engaging. But you get in front of a camera and suddenly you lose your personality. You lose the charisma you have in that room. And for some reason, it's just much different. I mean, have you been there? I know I have. I mean, about a year and a half ago, I started doing more and more virtual sessions. And before I was exclusively doing face-to-face. And when I first started doing virtual, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so unique and different. I have to be a different person. And so I did. I became this completely different personality, and it just didn't work. So I had to learn, it's really just a presentation. You can bring your charisma, your personality to that virtual presentation. Don't stress about it. Prepare like you always do, and you'll be awesome. The second tip is around your gestures. Well, when I'm coaching face-to-face presentations, I always tell people to find their box. Don't get outside of your box too far, whatever your box might be, because that can be a little distracting. Well, with virtual presentations, all you have to remember is make the box a little smaller. Just make your box a little smaller. Still use those gestures because they can add the congruence you need to really make your message impactful. Just make sure that box is a little bit smaller. The third tip is eye contact. When you're working with a virtual audience, you still have an audience. Sometimes it's much bigger, sometimes it's much smaller, but they're all right there in that lens. So when you're looking at your audience, make sure you're looking at your audience, because that is the same connection you can make on a screen. That's the same connection you'll make face-to-face, and we know how important that is. We spent a lot of time talking about eye contact over the last couple of weeks. So you want to make that connection, and you can still do that virtually. A lot of times what happens, people tend to look at themselves in their screen, and they're talking to the screen or even to the other people because they might be able to see the other people there. You're not looking at them. That's one of the most difficult things. Make sure you're looking at them here, even though they might be actually here. So be careful with that, and don't look away too much. Look at your notes, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you're giving them good eye contact enough to make that connection. So those are your 3 tips. Really, those are the 3 tips for today. Don't stress about it. It's just a presentation. Prepare like you always do. Secondly, make your box a little smaller, but don't eliminate your good hand gestures. And then the third thing, eye contact. Make sure you're making that connection. And I'm going to add a little bonus here. This is a bonus. Think outside the box. Just because it's a virtual presentation and you always thought of virtual presentations as something you would be sitting down at a computer for, that doesn't mean that you always have to do that. That may be the way it's always been done, maybe the way you've always done it. But if we move into this virtual as the new norm era that we're going into, we need to mix it up a little bit. I like to stand up when I'm presenting virtually. I have, in fact, right here in front of me, I have a chair with 2 boxes stacked on top, and my laptop is right there. And so when I set my laptop on those 2 boxes, I'm looking right into the lens. So I can actually feel like I'm in a room. That'll make it even easier for you to bring that comfort level that you have in a room into the virtual setting. So whatever it takes to make you feel more comfortable, do that. Those are your tips for this week, and I'm gonna have more. I just want to make sure that I'm being relevant for you guys. So remember to go to theroco.com, leave me a comment, let me know what you struggle with so we can address some of those issues. And in the meantime, go crush your next virtual presentation.